All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Of course, you are watching the China World Qualifiers. Game number 1, set number 1, already completed. OMG moving on to the next round, but of course, there will be a couple more sets tonight. It's going to be right up here, LGD taking on StarHorn World Club. This is a rematch of the playoff set that we did see previously. It ended up being a 3-0 sweep in favor of StarHorn World Club, but we know one thing about LGD Gaming. It's that they can come back unprecedentedly. Now let's see if they can do it. Frostgren, what do you think about this?
You are correct. This is a rematch. The last 2 times these teams faced, StarHorn World Club won very convincingly. I actually expect that to go the same way, but like you said, there are a couple of powerhouses and weapons. LGD, not nearly as well known from StarHorn World Club. You saw those intros, Pyra? I feel like everyone looks so awkward except for Zero, you know, using his
PYL is pretty confident, a little swagger in his step. Good reason to be. He's been in the scene for a number of years. He's definitely kind of the heart and soul of this team. You know, he pulled in a lot of the talent. Wayless specifically went to this team because of PYL's leadership abilities. He said it publicly. You know, I got offers from big teams, but I wanted to play on LGD.
And that is the other powerhouse of LGD. It is going to be their mid laner, Wayless. Has a bit of a unique champion pool, actually. We've seen everything from Diana, a lot of Orianna, very strong Orianna, Ahri, big playmaker for him, but also the Lissandra actually recently, especially in the playoff matches.
Yeah, really curious choice. And it wasn't really the reason they lost either. It definitely held its own in lane. Team fighting, a bit lackluster though.
It was beautiful. He actually builds when he faces against an enemy Orianna, he picks Lissandra because he knows he can out-farm her, and he builds a Spectral Wraith, and he had about 100 CS on the enemy Orianna, who's, you know, no stranger to farming effectively, and he actually roamed better than Orianna as well. And you did talk about, you know, a little bit lackluster team fighting was more about those picks, but found brilliant ultimates on the enemy AD carry every single time. Even against EDG, found a couple of picks on Name.
Of course, I feel like this is a team that's had a surge in power with some roster changes. We talked a while back when they picked up XQ, had been like a massive step up. The biggest issue, though, for the team is in their jungle. Chuen has not been a reliable jungler by any means. He pretty much is dependent wholly on Lee Sin. We've seen him have mixed success on the likes of Jarvan, but that's about it. And even lately, he really struggles to make plays for this team. He's kind of LGD's Dota 7.
Shots fired. But you're absolutely right. Chuen is one of the remaining members from the previous split roster. Of course, LGD did go through a bit of a makeover as we saw the influx of Koreans. They didn't get any Koreans of their own, but they got some solo queue stars. And the bigger issue, though, is you talk a lot about Lee Sin and Jarvan. Jarvan is really big in LPL. He'll always be a threat because he's so good at initiating fights. Again, that's what we saw really in the stall out between OMG and IG, the inability for OMG to find and to start a fight since they were so far ahead. The issue, though, is that Jarvan's actually kind of fallen out of favor. We have, you know, the Kha'Zix buffs that came through 4.14. Kha'Zix being picked up was played, you know, by Illusion that last set.
Well, and Insect, you know, known for a number of jungling champions, but aside from Lee Sin, Kha'Zix would probably be one of his more historically famous picks, so that's something that should be easily contested. Well, I don't think Chuen even really is going to wrap his head around that one.
Exactly.
If they force him to pick it.
So in rotation right now, we have Kha'Zix and Nunu are kind of the really big, you know, Lulu
Jungle is the strongest
Freak is
thing
actually
ever,
playing in this game. No, it's Lee Sin, Nunu, and Kha'Zix.
Oh man, talk about shots fired.
I know,
Jeez.
right? And Chuen only plays one of those junglers. His champion pool has always been an issue. Does have the Elise pocket pick should he try to turn back to that, but the game LGD is entirely dependent on if he shows up or not.
Yeah, that's really the biggest issue for LGD, and it's been a hindrance for them throughout a number of their games. They were swept aside in the playoffs summarily by StarHorn, but you know, I feel like they could pull out something a little special here. This is the last chance. If they drop down, they'll have to face off against Invictus Gaming, and that would be a very interesting matchup, but they don't want to have to be on that ringer to not go to Worlds. You've made it this far. You have to pull out everything you have, and I think PYL is kind of got his team in a huddle right now. Say, guys, here's what we got to do. We've got to be able to beat these guys down. But StarHorn, this is a team that was surging in power just a patch ago, and honestly, nearly edged out OMG twice.
It's very curious in how these two teams match up. StarHorn Royal Club, of course, we haven't even covered them really. Let's just get out of the way. The big powerhouse for StarHorn Royal Club is their bottom lane. Zero, their new Korean support, possibly the best support right now in LPL, and their star AD carry, Uzi.
Left over from the World Squad, one of the few members in any Chinese team with that experience. Going forward to Worlds, he has been there on that big stage. He knows what it's like, and he knows how to make plays, even if it's at the cost of his own life. This is a guy that'll flash 1v5 into the enemy team, but he will pick up a kill or two.
But even more into the detriment of LGD, especially in this matchup, is the jungle matchup. It's funny because StarHorn Royal Club, yes, they have, the Korean jungler, the big insect coming over from the KT organization along with Zero. There was a lot of eyes on him saying that he would be the hard carry of StarHorn Royal Club, but they found a lot more success when they utilized their mid laner Korn effectively.
Oh, a lot better, yeah. You could blame comms, to be honest, for a little while. I think that was a lot of excuses made for StarHorn fans.
More in,
it was definitely troubling, but I think they got to the point eventually where Insect and Zero were able to communicate reasonably well. And yeah, pinging definitely a huge plus for them as well. But also, as you mentioned, Korn stepping up massively. This is a guy they picked up from King, and he wasn't particularly effective on that LSPL team when he was on it. They are now currently first place LSPL, will be in the LPL next season. But he was kind of nothing special in a lot of people's minds, and when he finally became a powerhouse, everyone sort of opened their eyes and said, wait a minute, we might have a team here that isn't just Uzi.
And that's really what it's come down to, Uzi recognizing that he doesn't have to hard carry his team, that he can spread the gold around. Of course, LGD flashing on the screen right there, PYL in the front and center, the captain, the support of the team. They have not found any success against StarHorn Royal Club in the season, in the playoffs. It's been a very tough road for them. StarHorn Royal Club is very aggressive and fast-paced. They brute force their victories a lot, it's curious because LGD is actually a very smart team about their movements. They just get outperformed and outplayed on an individual skill base when they lose their games to StarHorn Royal Club. But we are starting the roster lineups. It is going to be 17 in the top lane.
Yeah, call him Killer 17. He will run Yasuo top. We have seen it a couple of times. This is a guy that I think you can't take too lightly. For a top laner in general, he does like to play a bit more carry-centric, although he has also historically been a Lulu player, too. It's a bit more flexible, but he will split push for the team, and they will enact a lot of their cerebral strategies off the back of him as well. In the jungle, of course, weak league for the team. It is Xuen, the champion pool. Well, it's a lot smaller than an Olympic-sized one. You might say it's a kiddie pool. That's Lee Sin, Jarvan, maybe, and that's about it.
And as we see, Lee Sin, Jarvan.
Yeah.
Serious face, though.
He's definitely concentrating on upping his game because I think it's very apparent that this is where the weakness lies and they need to improve that. I wouldn't be surprised if POL had a lot of talking explicitly with him.
I know POL is very picky about the champions. XQ is not allowed to play Tristana because POL does not think it's very good. In the mid lane,
Talk about controlling your team, huh?
It's going to be Wayless, and speaking of control, you have to control this guy. He is such a threat, but he has a tendency to go what we call two-hero in China, and what we mean by that is he dives Nexus Towers at 2 minutes.
And would you like some cheese with your ham? He will definitely give it up to you. And he does get kills, nonetheless. He plays an incredibly powerful mid-game, and it's going to be something to watch, especially if Korn doesn't make an active play early on. We'll have to see how that unfolds, but of course, it's all about the AD carry, or at least it used to be all about this AD carry especially. But, well, we'll have to see how it goes, and actually...
The nice thing about XQ is that he's a big Vayne player, and of course Vayne coming back into rotation did have the buffs on her.
Yeah, it has been helping him out, but I feel like it also helps out Uzi a lot more. I feel like he's not a superstar carry, but XQ holds his own reasonably well, and there's really no reason to fault him for his play. It's just tough going into that 2v2 matchup.
And of course, joining him is going to be the captain and star of LGD, PYL. Very noticeable guy, veteran player. When the team succeeds, you can very clearly see the hand of PYL controlling it. When LGD tends to slip out is when he loses control of one of his players. Either Chuan or Wayless go a little bit too hard, and the enemy team is able to counteract it and take big objectives off of it.
Yeah, he's the brain of the team. He's the heart of the team. He's the soul of the team. They all rely on what he says, and it goes. They are able to make some pretty big plays off the back of the strategical input. Unlike a lot of teams in China, historically in China, LGD has always been a strategical powerhouse. I feel like you can put them up there with OMG. It's just, you're right, they don't always have the mechanics to execute what they need to.
And that's been a big issue, especially going against StarHorn Royal Club, who have arguably some of the strongest players in China individually. Not
really
necessarily.
Think about this. It's brute force versus brains. I mean, that's the nature of this lineup.
And it's very scary early a game against a team like StarHorn Royal Club. They tend to snowball very quickly, very aggressively. Expect Insect to gank bottom religiously. OMG found some success against StarHorn Royal Club by actually early warding Insect and then just staying away from him. Of course, we are starting with that bottom lane. It is going to be 0.
Yep. The KT guys in their flashback video, where are they now? They called him the Mad Life of China, and he has absolutely been up to that prime form on Thresh, but he's played a lot of other champions well, too. Undefeated on Braum this season. 6 games, all wins.
Very brilliant player. A lot of Koreans kind of got some flack coming to China saying that they're B-rate Koreans, that they just came over here because they couldn't find spots in OGN, that they were washed up. Zero is not one of those guys. He's the real deal. Unfortunately, just couldn't find a place on his team because the roster was too solid, but has definitely found a place in China and hopefully Worlds if everything goes well for them.
Yep, and this man is hoping especially that he can make the trip back there. Uzi I, the man of the hour, and he has a very serious look on his face. This guy can do it all. He's been there. He's seen it. He's done it. And, well, that's going to be a scary bot lane to deal with for XQ, especially.
Speaking of Vayne players, and yes, for sure, possibly the scariest bot lane in China.
Legendary pentakill, though. What an amazing play. I wish we could flash back to that every single time we see this guy.
That pentakill, that was good. There's some pentakills that just, like, you know that they're going to happen just because everyone's just kind of mowing through. This was a strategical 3v5 outplay. It was beautiful.
Oh, yeah. The dodging is incredible. The mechanics, I mean, when he gets himself in bad situations, he is able to get himself out or at least trade well, which gives him that edge. Now, Korn in the mid lane, speaking of edges, he has certainly found his niche and able to really get good leads in games against most opponents. Not necessarily a huge standout, other than the fact that he just lanes incredibly well, incredibly safely. You see he plays a number of champions.
His Orianna was really the turning point of Korn's success. Fizz is banned against him every single time. You cannot let him have that champion. But
Ziggs is pretty great, too.
Yeah, his Orianna really kind of cemented him. Korn was everyone was really unsure about him. He wasn't really showing up to StarHorn Royal Club, and then suddenly he just got his champion. Everything clicked. They gave him responsibility. They gave him gold, and it's been easy riding since then.
Yeah, and of course, Insect found a home in the Chinese jungle, of course, after moving away from the KT Bullets. Has had a lot of rocky starts, ups and downs, definitely went a little too hero in a lot of his plays early on, but the team has learned to follow him in, and more often than not, results in some big victories for them.
It's a MacNoon style of play. They all just dive.
Yep. Oh, and that pentakill play, too. He also tanked a lot of tower shots, and this was a Shaco. Still, the only professional Shaco pick in China that, in recent memory, of course, it would be Insect that does it. And then, of course, in the top lane, there's Kola. What can you say for him? He's
Jax.
He's all right. He plays Jax. He plays Shyvana. Yeah, he plays him well.
He's a Jax player. Not necessarily the strength of going. I would say he's stronger than 17 in this particular matchup, but we will see how it goes down for him, see if any of those champions are picked away.
He was another one of those players picked up from one of the LSPL teams when they were formulating their new roster. Of course, Royal Club, after changing their name, they also had to change quite a lot of roster. Everyone retired. And, yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. They usually use Kola as sort of a flexible choice. I think he mirrors 17 very well, but you're right. In a straight 1v1, he should win.
I think that StarHorn Royal Club, across the board, there's a lot of outclass. It's about if Wayless can get going and if Twin decides to show up.
Yeah, we'll have to see. This is going to be tough for LGD, especially just because they aren't going to have a single winning lane, but maybe they can manage an early outplay and stem the relentless assault that we've seen time and time again from StarHorn Royal Club, or will they brute force another 2-0 victory over LGD. We'll have to see. Game number 1 getting loaded up on the Rift in just a moment. Champion picks and bans will come through. And it's anybody's guess what we'll see for sure. You definitely expect a smarter ban phase, out of LGD.
Orianna will be a contested pick. I expect Vayne will. If Vayne gets taken away, chances are that OZI will fall back to Corki. Could look at the Kog'Maw. XQ plays recently Graves in Vayne, so a lot of overlapping picks here. PYL big on the Thresh, as is Zero. Zero does have the flexibility, though, that he can pick up the disengaged champion in the form of Nami.
Yeah, there's that option, of course. Now, Fizz banned away, as you mentioned. That is, of course, a must-ban. Maokai off the table as well. And that's typically more general. We see a lot of Maokai bans lately.
That champion's still pretty balanced.
Oh, yeah.
Fiddlesticks.
What are you going to do? Okay. That's a curious choice for a ban.
I wasn't aware that Illusion was in this game.
Yeah, and about the only person we know of in the LPL that is even remotely known for playing that. Yasuo now banned as well, and the mind games are coming out, Frosk. That's LGD's calling card, right?
Lot of mid bans and top bans going down. Of course, the KO being taken away. It leaves the Zilean open. We've seen Zilean banned pretty much across the board and is going to be locked in. And again, the strength of Zilean is that you get the anti-siege. Of course, it allows the Orianna to be open. You get the anti-siege, but you're protected against the assassin.
Oh, I'm surprised they go for Lucian here. Looks like StarHorn has something particular in mind.
Expect to see dive-centric jungler from them then, as well as a top laner since they're picking
Well, that is definitely Insect style. I think they're going to wait on it because there are options, and of course with the Elise lock-in. No flash photography. All right, we're back to it. Lee Sin, there you go. No reason not to. It's a signature champion.
Really curious. We talked about how in the first set of OMG IG, both teams got exactly what they wanted. Both teams are getting exactly what they want.
Yeah, and we know how well this went for OMG in their sets earlier in the day. I gotta say, this is starting to favor StarHorn quite a lot. Ooh, switching over to Rengar. Now, we have seen Insect playing a lot more of that. Also, Nami has been a fallback pickup for Zero in a number of situations, and I think it's wise pairing with Lucian here. He's one of the few Namis that really uses the ult conservatively. It's unusual for Chinese supports to really save that particular spell.
The mentality is that they have to be the person that starts the team fight, that locks everyone down, which is, again, why we saw the disconnect with Dota 7 there.
Ooh, okay. The Riven. Is this a... Oh, and X2's going for Jinx. Okay. Mid-Riven, no.
Support. It's a mid-Riven support
no, you're right.
Zilean.
Absolutely. Okay.
Or it could be a top Riven.
I'm trying to think like Zilean top, would that be a thing? I don't think so.
No.
They would send like Ryze mid?
It's not that much of a flex.
No, my brain's starting to hurt right now. I don't think so. That's definitely a top Riven, and now this is... Or excuse me, a mid-Riven. I'm like totally like scrambling my brains here.
It could be a top Riven.
Last pickup is Aurelia now for Cola. I think it's mid just to deal with this Orianna, get in her face early, and try and just outplay on a champion counter basis. But okay, now they have the option, the flexibility, and they are doing it, so they're going to send way less mid on Ryze. And the big thing to note about this is this bot lane too. Jinx and Zilean is not something we've seen a lot of, but PYL knows the wily strategies.
Every time Jinx comes out, she does fairly well in LPL, though. Of course, again, you have a lot of strong marksmen. You have a powerful champion like Jinx. I love the synergy between Zilean and Ryze. Ryze had great synergy with Janna when her passive was global. That movement speed is very important to him, especially because of how his kit works as well with spacing. So having the Zilean speed up there is going to be amazing, especially because PYL, being the captain of the team, he gets involved with his team very early. Used to do a lot of heavy roaming. It's changed and shifted away from that a little bit since the meta is more about strict lanes again, which heavily favors StarHorn Royal Club because their individual laners are so strong. But it's about if PYL can really utilize the Zilean and get involved with that Ryze. Fun fact about LGD, even though he's not on the roster anymore, Riven was a huge pick for them back when they had their top laner, Star. It was almost exclusively Orianna Riven, and they used to just...
Bit of a throwback, actually.
Go long.
Yeah, we'll see if they can do it. Loading up onto Summoner's Rift in just a moment, but this is going to be one heck of a game, I gotta say. We'll see if LGD can outlast the relentless aggression of their opponent, StarHorn World Club, or will they get stomped into the dust like they did in the playoffs? We'll have to find out, guys, because we're loading onto Summoner's Rift. Let's see how it goes. Boom, there we go. So Chuan getting a little bit of check in the
went.
bushes on.
It goes.
Oh, no. We can't use that joke anymore.
It went.
OMG is not in this game, Frosk.
So sad.
Yeah. Oh, they won. Oh, 17. Fine, Cola. Yeah, line of scrimmage is so par for the course in game number 1 in these sets that it's almost like you have to expect it. There's not a lot of crazy invades, but the teams that do those, StarHorn definitely leading the charge in that particular department. But they have a safe comp here. There's no reason for them to do it.
Again, it fits very much with the MO of China. Isn't necessarily about getting vision and taking that information that the vision grants and punishing with it. They're very much more about the vision denial type of game. So yeah, we've seen the evolution of their vision over especially the course of this split, but it's still relatively underdeveloped in some of the surrounding regions. We don't see teams grouping up and running through and planting those wards and then using something early with those trinkets to make plays.
Yeah, it's definitely not quite as common. Now, this 4-man late invade might be able to net them something, but they're seen out almost immediately, and I think they're just going to trade buffs. It's going to be nice and easy. Now, we have a lane swap likely coming in here, so that's curious play from LGD, and I think it's smart not to take the 2v2.
Oh, yes.
Because Uzi and Zero are a very scary bot lane combo, and that would put a lot of undue pressure on Chuan, I think. Again, he's not on a champion he performs traditionally well on.
And it's not only that, but also the fact that you have Jinx. She will outscale Lucian, will bypass,
but it's very unsafe if caught.
Exactly. Some of this weak laning phase and her susceptibility to ganks. The other big thing for them is, yes, they sacrifice... they sacrifice dragon control, because they have the numbers advantage, of course, for StarHorn World Club on the bottom side of the map. But Jinx is so good at pushing down towers that they can easily trade at any point. So usually when a lane swap goes through, it's a slow push versus a fast push because you have to be ready to take that top tower in exchange for the dragon.
Yeah, and that's the issue, though, is that, like, they can make that trade, sure, but giving up the dragon objective and giving up so much damage on this bot tower as well, it seems like they might give up even more. Once the laners come, we could end up seeing a 4v0 push, and it'd be like that old callback. There are actually a lot more members of StarHorn closer to this bot turret if they want to force that.
Of course, the burn from Lucian coming through, but PYL doing his best to clear out these creeps and allow XQ to just hammer away.
Yep, this should be a pretty standard start in this situation. Now, way less pressure's on him to really make something happen against Korn, because Korn's perfectly okay to stall it out late, but Ribbon's effectiveness not that great later on in the game, not to mention he can't build his favorite item, the Spectral Wraith.
She becomes, I mean, really an assassin and just an engage tool, if you think about it. The nice thing about it, though, is that the later this game goes on and the more towers drop down, Riven gets really scary because of her ability to chase people down. That said, Wayless has to stay relatively even or ahead with her to become much of a threat.
Now, I like this in principle. They've sent PYL down to the bot to help poke out Uzi and save the tower. The issue is putting Jinx solo against an Aurelia doesn't seem like a good idea, especially when there's Insect roaming around. But Chuan is going to find the 3v2. Zero is low. They're going to focus him out. Bombs on his head. Uzi trying to zone just a little bit, and he will manage to keep his support safe. Popping a summoner heal all the while. Ignite was spent as well as Flash on Zero. And XQ's actually doing just fine, but for how long? Insect on the prowl. Can he find the kill? The Jinx has no escapes.
Chompers.
Summoner heal immediately. Chompers are down. Stuns, but they do miss the Bola. Secondary is going to come in on, though. This might just be first blood. XQ, he is burning down low, and down he goes. Insect picking himself up first blood, but he does take some tower shots back for it. And there's the danger.
The big issue, though, of course, was the fact that he burned the Chomper so early. He didn't have any sort of safety. Nice walking from Insect. Again, though,
plain and simply, it was a panic move from XQ, and that's the risk they took. They knew Insect was going to be able to make those plays.
Insect always misses his bolas. Every single time I watch him play Rengar, you're supposed to obviously bola with a leap. You can hit it no matter what. He didn't have the leap right there, but almost could have traded 1-for-1 right there and lost his doubles. Got a little bit lucky, but needs to hit that skill shot.
They still managed to secure it, but he didn't have to take the tower shots, and that did force him to back, so there is something to be said for that. Now, Zero, they've got vision in that brush, and now he knows, oh, he's locked up. That's going to be them taking him out. 17 able to find the Rune Prison. Teleport now coming in for Cola. It's still a 3v2 if they want to take it, but Chuan is low. He's actually been doing a fantastic job in this bot lane so far. Uzi, the Rune Prison. Can they secure him? They can, and Chuan coming up big right now. For LGD, they get 2 free kills. Meanwhile, the mid lane, Wayless, is in trouble. Can Riven get away? No, she cannot. Insec will get himself up another to make it a 2 for 2. But this game is getting interesting.
And Insect's actually doing a really good job. Every single time he sees Xuan on the map, he makes sure to make a play somewhere. He saw him go bottom, was an unsuccessful gank. He immediately goes top, finds the first blood. Sees him go bottom again, this time again for LGD, the 2 kills. Immediately goes mid and trades something for it.
A much, much, much better reactionary cause and effect play from both these teams, and it's really a breath of fresh air. XQ, he's living dangerously, but I guess that's how you got to do it with Jinx. You just got to be so careful not to get picked off there repeatedly. That could be a veritable goldmine for Insect should he venture that way again. Bot lane, in a bit of trouble though, and do you think he goes down to try and help Snowball, or does he continue to get these free kills off of Jinx?
You're referring to Insec, or are you referring to Cola?
Wait,
Insec is his MO is ganking bottom. I expect to see him in the jungle until he's level 6, and then immediately find a gank into bottom for Uzi to get back into the game,
As
and
you
then
say
transition
so
into
shall
Dragon.
it be. He's going to come in for the lane gank. There's nobody there yet, though, so this is a preemptive gank. Don't tell anybody. Secret strat. Oh, they know. Picking him out. PYL. Going to zoom his way out of there. You know, Zillion moves pretty fast for an old guy with a clock on his back.
What did Hotshot say? He says you you level E, so that way you can just zoom out of the lane. You don't do Q.
You become a race car.
Exactly.
Oh, that looks tasty too. They always cycle to people eating.
They're eating hot dogs, now they got cookies.
I don't think that was a hot dog. I think that might have been
cookie.
some kind of fish product.
Oh, ew. Why would you eat fish?
I like fried fish. It's delicious.
Oh, yeah. If it's, I'm like thinking like a full-on.
No, they're just like totally like fish.
She's like scaling
just
the
like,
salmon.
Just like, yeah, it's being skinned while they're like just watching the match all casually like. That'd be a wonderful little visual there. Now, Cola taking a lot of poke out from 17 right now, actually just getting outclassed. And this is one of the reasons to run Rise. I feel like they went that flex option to give their top lane more of a chance, whereas way less on Riven. It's been decent, but nothing to really shut down Korn.
Well, it's scary for Aurelia because she has
speaking
to...
of way less. He finds himself Insect. That's a lot of damage. Win slash good night, goodbye. Oh, and I'll take a red buff on my way out.
The wayless roam.
Legendary.
Has the timer. Makes a trip up there. Finds an Insect for his troubles and the red buff. See how he'll abuse that in that mid lane. Especially as Korn here, poor left alone to get his own blue buff.
Well, you know, when Wayless is grabbing himself a red in the enemy jungle, you've got to be extremely careful. That is the assassination potential of Riven, and that's kind of a revenge kill too. Hey, you killed me in lane, all right, I kill you in your own jungle. I'll come to your house next time.
Insect does have his Mobies, should be hitting level 6 relatively soon, see how he utilizes that ultimate and kind of puts his team back into the game again. I expect it to go bot, but the idea right now is Dragon. He wants to find a pick, they want to get a numbers advantage.
Yeah, they need to be able to do it. Alright, so looking forward on this right now. Insect can still make plays, but he's got to be careful not to give up too many kills early on because that's going to give LGD the confidence they need to really just shove forward in lanes. And everything's kind of evened out right now. A slight lead for LGD. A big slip-up could cost them like a dragon or a tower.
They're very much taking advantage of StarHorn's inability to close games, picking up Jinx and Rise. Of course, these champions, hyper carries, will be item-dependent, scale very well into late game. They are competing against Orianna, however. But they have a lot of pick potential with their team to kill off the anti-siege as well as Jinx siege, so... I mean, really, Korn's the only thing standing in their way late game.
Yeah, that's a bit of the issue right there. Wayless is going forward onto Insect, but... Oh, exclamation point. I think I'm seeing. That could be trouble. Oh my goodness, here comes Korn. He gets the ball off. That's a 3v1, and I think that's going to be lights out. Yep, Wayless going down.
Finally finds the ball with the lead. Good gank. No reason for Wayless to be right there. A little bit too hero. See if they can maybe make something happen here, although Chuan is in the area. Looks like StarHorn Royal Club do find the pick, get the red buff back, but aren't able to transition this into Dragon.
Yeah, they might be going for it in just a moment, though. They do have a slight numbers advantage without Wayless on the field. And yep, they're going to ping for this one. And they're going to be moving all around, just trying to secure up as much of the vision as they possibly can. You can see, yep, Zero getting his sweep on as this dragon is going to be started right now. Can LGD answer back, though? They're going for it. Looks like we are going to see, oh, a teleport coming in. Wave, not even going to land. Oh, that's going to be the start of a fight. It looks like, oh, man. Xuen goes in too far forward, goes down, but he gets Zillion ulted, and that means StarHorn. Not enough left of the tank, but let's see if this fight continues. Oh, my goodness, that's a flash forward from 17. How is this one going to go down? It's really hard to call right now. Wayless managing to get himself a kill, and StarHorn is scattering. Can they get away? They are blinking health bars, and they are hunting them down right now. LGD with the assassination Wayless Riven, and he is nearly going to find himself Insect. This dragon could be LGD's.
The issue is the misuse of the tidal wave. Again, we just praised Zero on his ability and the versatility that he's one of the few supports in LPL that can play a disengaged champion as opposed to that hard engage. And when you think again back to the chase potential that the Zillion alone is offering LGD, as well as the Riven mobility, it was just an easy chase down. LGD was able to stall at the dragon fight long enough that Riven walked from base back into the team fight in easy pickings.
Yeah, that was pretty much the summation of it. Well done on that. And LGD, you know, we mentioned this is the brute force versus cerebral thinking. StarHorn has come up with the better strategy so far, and it's really paying dividends for him.
I think you mean LGD.
Or LG, excuse me.
It's okay.
The team that was the opposite of the team that I said.
The team on the blue side.
The one that's on that, yeah, that's the one that did it.
Spaghetti.
Today I learned the teams are the opposite of what I think they are.
It's
like a weird colorblind condition.
Oh, speaking of colorblind mode, that was impossible to find on the TR client.
Yeah. You guys come back when you can read Mandarin, right?
Yeah. Level me up.
Alright, well here we go.
Insect?
Insect is in the bot side now, looking for a lane gank if he can. Signature Insect, Zero hanging out as well. But Xuan, meanwhile, is up on the top side. Of course, he's seen out by the pink. Spends a sweep and doesn't even bother to clear it. Well...
He doesn't have eyes on Insect.
No, there we go. He doesn't know where that. He doesn't want to take the 2v2, and he's not confident in that ability. However, he has played a much better Elise game than we've seen recently.
They moved Wayless up, or Wayless was looking around. He didn't have eyes on Insect, so he didn't want to get picked off in that 2v2 matchup.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair point there. Okay. So now, everybody kind of just backs off from all of that, but this is the scary part right now for StarHorn. Wayless is dealing a lot of damage, and unless he gets zoned out, which is what Insect is effectively trying to do here, I don't know if he's going to be able to stand up to that the later the game goes on. PYL actually trying to chase Zero a little bit away. Gets a bomb on the head of that support player as a lot of members of LGD kind of congregating down in this bot side. Not really much to take but the tower, and there is a deep ward that's spotting out Xuan, so StarHorn will be aware of this rotation right now.
More importantly, Insect has, I mean, he found those 2 early kills, but for the last 5 minutes, he's been effectively stalled out right there. Didn't find the ultimate that he needed in the mid lane. Hasn't found a lot of success in his jungle. Does manage to pick up the 3rd rotation of buffs. Last time the red buff was stolen away, as well as his life by Wayless. So see if he can turn this around, but, you know, lost that ultimate cooldown. And now he's actually being invaded.
Yeah, and he knows it, but he's going to get the jump onto Wayless. Oh, the ball connects! Beautiful. Wayless, what are you doing? He goes down, and now Xuan is in trouble as well. There is a Nami ult. Xuan, can he get away? Bug splat. Nope. Oh, wow. Manages to get the blue buff off, and that is a Zillion ult. They're still chasing him down, however, and that's going to be buff transfer complete over to Korn. XQ in trouble. Rocket fired. Gets face tanked by Insect, and they just managed to clean house. 4 kills for none. And that's about the time, if you're 17, you just say, team, what were you doing?
Brilliant collapse from StarHorn Relica, but what set it up was knowing that LGD were going to go for the blue buff, knowing that they were going to invade. A lot of teams will deep ward on Insect because they recognize his power in helping snowball StarHorn Relica and put the pressure in the jungle. StarHorn was able to communicate this effectively, make sure that they had the collapse ready, and punish LGD hard.
Yeah, huge outplay from them, and it was a noble effort from LGD to try and salvage that situation. I mean, that was an incredible Zillion ult from PYL, but it just wasn't enough. And at the end of the day, they need to be ahead in the fights. They need to be the ones chasing, because look at who they have. They have a Riven, they have a Jinx, they have Xuan on Elise, and that's like that's engagement, but there isn't like a lot of counter engage, a lot of peel, and they're kind of relying on being able to take confident fights. I don't think that's really the right approach against a StarHorn team that will just chase you out of the jungle like that.
StarHorn is very much about A, the Shockwave, and B, the counter engage. See if they can continue to keep the success going. Of course, Korn got a very nice power spike from that. 2-0-3 right now, as well as the double buff.
Yep. Insect looking to make a play on the top side. 17 shouldn't have too much trouble fending that off in a solo situation, since Cola has had to back here. And can we talk about 17 for a little bit? Because he has managed to step up to a level that I didn't really see much of in the regular season, or even the playoffs. I mean, he was not at this level, and this is the 1v1 ability against Cola on Aurelia is pretty impressive.
A lot of that is the power of Rise, but yes, he has been playing very strong, obviously on a very strong champion as well.
Yeah, I mean, the picks were very smart from LGD this game. However, they did allow a lot of comfort champions from StarHorn, which I think is going to maybe be the undoing of them. Might be the undoing of 17 right now. Insec, oh boy, here we go. Running the wrong way, wrong tower, but he nearly gets out. Going to spend a couple of flashes to be able to secure that one up, but they will get the kill. Cola gets the assist, says thank you very much, Insec. Okay, I'm back to my jungle, 4-1 on the Rengar.
And unfortunately, there's nothing that LGD can do to answer the amount of resources that StarHorn World Club expended top lane, because they're trying to siege into a blue buff Orianna.
And there's no dragon either. That was really good timing from StarHorn to lose absolutely nothing for that pressure. Insec is really good at this, creating the time and space he needs to make plays and not really giving anything up because there's no opening for anyone to respawn. It's lightning warfare for StarHorn.
Pretty much. See what they can make happen for them. Dragon, of course, going to spawn in 14 seconds, should be the next big point of contention and can really start to be the runaway point for this game. The Shockwave will be up and available, as well as the, actually no, the Rengar ultimate will not be available.
You just used
I was gonna say they could look for a submarine, but...
They don't necessarily need it, though. They have been winning these fights, and StarHorn slight lead. They are going to try and set up a catch. Oh, ball is not going to connect.
A big
and Uzi Eye going big onto Wayless, and they zone with the Nami ult, but Wayless, careful when you corner a Riven. She just might take you down. Windslash comes out, but the bubble comes up. Uzi Eye barely getting out with his life. However, there is a big ult being spent. Whoa, big rocket. Zero goes down. Insect could follow. This is going to be LGD's fight for sure. PYL finding himself a kill, and they just chase StarHorn away. LGD off the back of a fantastic XQ rocket, and now they've managed to catch Korn. He's on the run, able to dip, duck, dive, and dodge. The ball comes in way less zone, but he has to use it defensively. This is going to be a dragon for LGD, and what a turnaround fight it was. Massive rocket allowing the setup, allowing the dragon gold, and LGD right back in this game.
A huge 2v4 from Wayless and POIL. Beautiful chrono shift. Can we talk about the blue suede shoes on that Riven right now to bush dodge? This game, kind of the motif and the theme of it has been lack of vision. LGD having the lack of vision that they're not able to effectively secure these dragons. StarHorn World Cup didn't have the vision in that brush, so they couldn't see that Riven was trying to go for the execute and punish Uzi Eye. Brilliant play. It's just beautiful.
It was absolutely fantastic. Wayless definitely on the mechanical level that a lot of the StarHorn players are. You can say that it's not the same for the other laners, but they really stepped up, did their job. XQ, brilliant decision making. Hey, those guys are low. I can launch a rocket at him. Yeah, I'm not going to get the execute, but my team will set up at least 2 kills. We'll get the dragon. Absolutely fantastic shot calling from PYL. Even grabs himself a kill out of that, and he has been hitting every one of those zillion ults, saving lives crucially.
Again, the amount of control that Zillion is giving PYL over these team fights, stalling it out long enough, not just in Wayless's fancy footwork, but in the time that the chrono shift took to bring Riven back to life to allow his team to find that collapse. You know, speeding them up so they can get there faster for the collapse. It's great pick for him, very strong.
It's incredibly versatile in what they can do to set up fights, and they're forcing the zone out. Korn couldn't get involved in that. He was on the wrong side of the river.
The fact that the Shockwave had to be used defensively as an exit as opposed to an initiator, going to be a
Riven's
huge
starting
factor.
to look like a big pick.
They're using it very well. It's about how it'll scale and how well it'll do it in the late game, especially against the power of Orianna.
Yep. All right, guys.
Chug.
No action. Drink.
And Sick got caught.
Oh, what? We're on camera. LGD is going to be covered for late game scaling, I think, though. They've got an 80 carry that really gets going. Incredible. Has a red buff currently, able to dish the damage. No kills, but still. Keeping up on items with a 2-in-1 Uzi Eye, and that's an impressive feat in and of itself. The same can be said of 17. He's kept pace with Cola. He's actually almost caught up to farm. Yeah, he got killed once, but it was a hard-fought effort, and they just managed to take out the tower as well. So really trading effectively LGD is right now. Corn, not really been as much of a factor. Yeah, those shockwaves can be deadly when they hit. You only need one, but they haven't executed that combo.
Although they are looking for it now as Insec actually stands back in the wings, but no one's going to pressure forward. Again, and LGD has no problem playing this extended, slower pace. Everything kind of speeds up around objectives, and then it immediately slows back down. It goes back to this laning phase. And like you said, you're competing against a Jinx and a Ryze scaling. Yeah, you have the Orianna, but she's yet to show up.
Yeah, and they are perfectly happy to let the pace go back and forth like this. LGD can react so quickly, so well, it almost feels like they're the ones making the play in the first place. Insec and Uzi looking to make a play themselves. Wayless says, all right, I'm just going to run right at you here, but he doesn't have the HP to stand up. He goes down to Uzi. The roaming gank squad commences, but what's the answer here? LGD looking to push mid tower, and they should be able to secure it. Too many resources expended for StarHorn up top.
Wayless certainly could have tried to sidestep that a little bit better, kind of ran headlong into certain death. Good gank from StarHorn Royal Club. Corn was a little bit out of position, was able to get back fast enough to save his tower, so LGD answered nothing in return.
They really tried, though. You could see that the decision-making is so instantaneous, and that's just a mark of the synergy that these teams have with each other. They're able to make plays without any hesitation whatsoever, and it's a lot of that you got to give credit to PYL. But the team trusts him so well, and that's an incredibly important thing.
Where LGD fail, though, is when they lose control of their mid laner. And fortunately there, Wayless was picked. Kind of a falter moment for LGD as StarHorn Royal Club do manage to get a tower off of it.
Yeah, bit of a confusion. And this is where StarHorn thrives. They love creating chaotic points that their opponents can't respond to. And in all that craziness, they just pick off as much as they can. Insec, he loves that kind of play.
He's a very hero player.
Yeah. And he thrives in it. 4-2 on this Rengar, though. Definitely a scary force to be reckoned with. XQ has to be careful. He has been playing really safe, I want to say, except in the top lane when he was by himself. It's hard to call when you have like single pickoffs, then the complete change of pace. As the pause comes in now, this might be a nice break for LGD to kind of reassess what they're doing. They are holding on to a slim gold lead. Dragon's up in a minute and a half, but they need to start pushing these waves out to maintain some vision control.
A big issue is they haven't been able to properly, like you said, control all the vision or deny it, really. They do have 2 sight zones because it is an Elise jungle, so they should have, at least some sort of warning, but a lot of the map has been dark for some of these really important key plays. Expect that to be a primary weakness as this game goes on later, and again, as these towers fall down and there's more room to run, there are more mistakes to be made. StarHorn Royal Club is very good at making picks as a team. And when you
long name, isn't it?
I know, right? And when you don't have the
that guy's happy.
The proper vision, you can get punished for this. And I just fear that that's going to be the end result for LGD, that 45, 50 minutes, it's going to be about that one Baron, that one play, and lack of vision and lack of foresight. They're not buying these pink wards. They're not setting up properly. It's going to bite them.
Yeah. StarHorn is a team that plays, you mentioned it so many times, so incredibly aggressive. They try to get an early lead snowball. Like, if that is their win condition, their primary win condition, LG is holding them at bay incredibly well. And the only worry is how well do they scale. I mean, Insect's the biggest problem right now. He's the one that has gotten a majority of the kill share. He will have his Feral Flare soon enough. But how long is that going to be a factor once this mid and late game starts setting in?
The relevance of Rengar and having all of the gold on your team as opposed to your...
we could write a novel, couldn't we?
I think I've seen this in the LCS.
Oh, man. Speaking of Miss Bolas.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
Shots
3, 2,
fired.
1, we're back. Yeah, well, I'm not the first.
Bolas
I provide
missed.
the cover fire. You be the carry, I'll be the support. We'll take on the LCS together.
The super hot Royal Crew.
That is a really good nickname for them.
Yep.
Props to whoever came up with that. Oh, XQ with the speed up. Now that is another versatile point of Zilean. Hey, your carry has no escapes. All right, you'll just run really fast. It's like an extra get excited.
It's a very priority pick in China since it made its debut. It's pretty much banned or picked anytime it's up.
Of course, it was mostly mid for a little while. Thank you, Zatai. But support Zilean has been seeing a resurgence, and PYL is that kind of smart support that can play it. I think he's definitely up there with FCZF and with Zero in his playmaking ability, but he also kind of has the team in his pocket as far as mentally goes. FCZF is kind of the same way.
Undoubtedly, for his time spent in the scene, it would be amazing to see PYL on the world stage.
Oh, yeah. And few people deserve it more than he does. Played for so long. And at top form for so long, too. That's the incredible thing, staying so relevant. And as a support player, you know, they don't tend to get as much press, but, well, oh, here we go. Burn the flash of Rengar. Nicely done.
Forcing them off of this dragon does spawn in 12 seconds.
They're going to trade towers here. Now, this is an outer for an inner right now. StarHorn, this is not a great trade, and they're not even rushing too much to defend it. This is a full commit from LGD. Not much of a wave, but it's going down quick. Wayless trying to run away from this. Nami ult coming in. Tidal wave not going to connect on anybody, but the Culling will. XQ's in trouble. Shuan is locked up. He'll just repel away, and they'll back off. Ooh. Not the right place to repel to. Ball's not going to connect. Oh, that's spent. Key ultimate there. Insect can get the second win. The rocket comes in. That's going to be the execution, but they do manage to find themselves Shuan in exchange for it. That is going to be a completely haywire fight now. XQ goes down. Can they follow it up? Zero with the wind slash. Amazing pickup, and they are going absolutely insane. 17 falls down. Uzi and Kola against PYL. PYL against the world. Can he stand up? It's going to be close. He goes down. Not enough damage. The bomb off cooldown, and StarHorn Bruce forced their way to a 3-4-5.
The outplay from Uzi to utilize the wall against the fact that Riven didn't have any more charges left on her Q. Finds the pickup right there as well as the dragon. But what set up that fight and what was more impressive was the call from StarHorn Royal Club. We talk about Insec and Zero, they don't speak Mandarin. They communicate to their team in English. When you watch StarHorn Royal Club games, you'll see that they ping a lot more than pretty much any other team. And it's been very crippling and very apparent at times in their communication.
Man, that's Shockwave.
Yeah, completely missed.
That would, I mean, they still got the fight, but they didn't have to give up this number of people. But the rocket probably could have been a little more useful on different members. Nonetheless, StarHorn, this is clearly just a champion outplay advantage. However, LGD made it real close.
It was the decision making that was really fantastic here. It almost looked bad for a second because it looked like StarHorn Royal Club was just going to lose their opportunity, although Baron going down.
Hello, Baron call. It's 26 minutes. I think it's calling. It goes down. That's LGD managed to sneak that one out. However, PYL is down ults himself, and they should be able to bail out of this one. They might leave Shuan for broke, though. Goodbye.
Wish we could have seen the events leading up to that call.
Well, I'd say it was a success. They trade a spider. Oh, maybe they'll trade more. Insec. He's looking for the assassination. Bull is going to connect on 17. Does he have enough burst? No, he doesn't. Ball spent into the bubble. He goes, and down he goes back to Fountain. 2 kills for that Baron call. But LGD removed that threat. And StarHorn don't have too much to take here except the last outer turret.
More importantly, Insec hit the bullet that mattered.
Well, they also shockwaved and then bubbled, so there was a lot of CC spent on that rise.
Hard locked. We'll pick up the mid-tier tower for this, and this is what they were going for originally when it came to that collapse. Again,
should be able to keep pushing for a minute because 17 still has 14 seconds on his death timer. I like this 4-1 push, too. Allowing Kola the freedom to not only get a little bit more extra experience since he was kind of so locked up in lane, they also have the significant pushing advantage with Uzi's Lucian, and they grab that really without taking much poke at all.
See what they'll look towards now that the team is back up. They are still competing against a Baron. Do you have a slight gold edge going in here?
No, looking at the way they were able to take that. No fear from the StarHorn squad.
Well, they found the picks that they wanted, which is the play that they make. They find the picks, they immediately transition that into an objective. StarHorn does not fight for no reason. They are not, they're not like Invictus Gaming who just chase the kills. They want the kills for a very particular objective.
Well, and they don't even know they want it at the time. Sometimes they just go in because they've got maybe a jump in from Insec and then, oh guys, look, Dragon's up. Okay, let's do that. You gotta love the quick decision making.
They are just very good at making sure that everything matters.
No, they don't waste things. It's definitely true. Kola is now splitting on the spot side, and he doesn't really need to be with the team. He's got teleport up. He can out-duel 1v1. I mean, this is the classic way to split push, and StarHorn understands this incredibly well. Kola is utilized frequently for this one, and they will get a bit of a speed up on the ball, looking for a hunt now. They're actually going to go and try to intercept Shuen and 17. This could be a huge fight, but they are spotted out by the ward. Wayless knows they're there. They don't want to take the fight while Baron buff still remains on 3 members, but they will try to create some zone pressure in this jungle. Uzi going forward, clearing a few wards out himself, but he's got to be careful. Rest of the team not quite caught up just yet.
Have to respect the power of the chrono shift right now, especially on that Wayless. Riven doing quite a bit of damage despite her score. Still very bursty.
Yeah, nice roam. There's nothing much to take here right now, so there's no reason for them to necessarily go out that way. However, if they can keep this pressure on, they prevent LGD from using that Baron buff on the 3 remaining members.
Creating different pressure points on the map, forcing LGD to rotate underneath wards, not use their Baron like you
It's
said.
textbook control. And StarHorn has evolved that a lot better. Playing with a lead, but not an immense lead, and they're doing it extremely well.
Very smart, walking to the jungles, being very good about the vision. The fact that the Orianna ball is always leading them around corners so they're not face checking into anything, denying vision and setting down wards as they go.
I feel like LGD is just beelining for every objective they can find, and they might manage to pick it up here because StarHorn not sending any members but Corn to this mid, but their wave is a little bit delayed. Ball zone comes on in. There is an ult available. It gets picked back up. Oh, the dive in the backline. That's a lot of burst. Wayless. Can he find the kill? No, it's going to be XQ. Insec. He's going to go down as well. Repel up to avoid the damages. Shuan. Insec actually stays alive for just a second. Gets his jump in. That was a mistake. However, Uzi sustained quite a lot of poke in the back. Wayless goes down. Shuan is low. They stop the siege for just a moment, but here they go again. And with the Baron buff, LGD is able to secure themselves a 2-for-1 advantage as well as the tower, and now they're just going to brute force this down. It almost looks like the tables have turned as far as these team styles. LGD looking to pick the fights for the objectives, playing incredibly well on that one, managing to get the finish off on that second tier.
A switch flipped, and Wayless went nuts right there with the dive. The burst damage coming out from Riven, but again, a beautiful chrono shift to allow just a little bit more, and they pick up the 2 towers for that, as well as, what, did he steal the blue buff? Yes, he did.
Oh, amazing play to utilize the last throws of the Baron buff to make that happen. And huge props to XQ. I mean, we always talk about Jinx whenever she does come out in China, makes a huge splash, but really playing incredibly well. And to hold up against a 9-1 Lucian, Uzi has kind of been sneakily assassinating people in all of these fights. He's barely gone down. His positioning is superior. Nonetheless, they're losing a lot of ground just to this incredible Jinx push.
XQ has been on point with those super mega death rockets, making them count every single time.
Now get the execute from a nice safe distance, and now the Dragon will be up in 10 seconds. StarHorn with 4 members in the area, but calling the bluff. LGD, okay, you take the Dragon, we'll just take your inhib turret. Here they go, and they're confident in their team fighting ability. This is a different LGD than we saw in the LPL playoffs. They are forcing objectives, they are forcing fights, and they are forcing their opponents onto their back foot. StarHorn with the wave in. They're going to catch Shuan, but that might be the sacrifice. They've already got a repel out of him, and what else can they get? Shuan is low. Wayless is in the front. Cola's getting chunked, but is it enough damage? I don't think so. Aurelia at half health is not something you want to mess with. Insect getting the jump on, and everyone on LGD running scared. That's going to be an absolute evaporation. PYL will get an ult off, but they're just going to finish off Wayless again. 3 for free. And they called the bluff, took it hook, line, and sinker. They will get this 4th one, too. Cola managing to take that out. Only XQ getting away. That's not the way you want to push a turret.
I'm sure we'll see the replay of that. Zero actually did a great job with his wave in splitting up LGD and the positioning to allow StarHorn Royal Code to make the collapse like that and to effectively split that team in the middle and kind of pick off any stragglers.
Yeah, and it really resulted in a big gain for them. Not only did they get a massive fight in their favor, oh my goodness, Uzi with the duel. Can he do it? He gets the call and kill. Oh my goodness, Uzi with the flashy footwork gets himself yet another, nearly securing the ace on the back of the inhib. He wants it all, this guy does.
Uzi looking for blood right there. Brilliant play. Wow.
I mean, XQ's been playing well, but you can't deal with a Lucian that wants that
both these
kill.
AD carries.
It has been pretty good, but I hate to say it, I think StarHorn just has that edge, that wow factor, and wow, did you see it? Killing XQ right inside of his own base.
Well, he also is 11-1-4, so he definitely also
massive.
has
I mean, at the very end of it all, and able to get out completely scot-free. Well done, Uzi. Well done, StarHorn, just taking a decisive lead now. And it looked worrisome for them for a while. Let's see if they can keep this up.
Baron is back up in play. Of course, StarHorn Royal Club with that big last sweep on the team fight, as well as the picks that Uzi made, sitting on quite a gold lead.
PYL. I'll say this for PYL. His ults have been absolutely perfect. The issue is he's had to use them when the fight's already lost.
It's I feel like this is every single time we see LGD. they have so many shining moments, but it's just that one team fight, that one misposition that kind of unravels them.
Baron Force now, and this is a perfect timing for StarHorn. A lot of members backed already on LGD, and this is going to be the rush out, but they've got so much burst they can just take it on down for free. Rocket comes in, intercepted by Uzi, and he just lifesteals it all back up. Nice shielding from Korn.
Especially off that pink ward. Chwin, out of position, allows a free Baron, uncontested.
Yeah, and they have nowhere to go from here. With a 5-man Baron squad, StarHorn can push any objective they want. Oh, they're going to go for kills. Oh, man, he goes down. Insect is in the front. He's taken way too much damage, staying alive just barely. Finally goes down to XQ, but at what cost? 17. He's going to fall down. Rune Prison ain't no thing. XQ is going to get that one kill, but he falls down as well. This is looking nightmarish right now for LGD. And Insect might be down, but the push will continue. And Chuan's down. Goodbye, good night. And this might be game right here and now. It's 34.5 minutes, and StarHorn have turned up the heat. That's Nexus Tower number 1. I thought it was earlier than that. That's going to be GG. Game number 1 going to StarHorn Royal Club, and they have answered in style. Wayless with the last breath. Not the ultimate, the actual last breath. Down he goes. Goodbye, Nexus. Goodbye, game. 1 to StarHorn.
StarHorn Royal Club 1 game away from continuing on in the winner's bracket. Again, it's 2 sets to World, so if they clean up this next one, it's just 1 more set before they get to represent China at the World Championship. And unfortunately, LGD now on the back foot.
Yep, they will have to come back after that. It was looking so good for them, but a couple of mistakes turned incredibly costly. PYL reaching into that big brain of his to come up with something for game number 2. What will he have? You'll have to stay tuned to find out. Guys, you are, of course, watching the Season 4 World Championships Chinese Qualifiers. We will be right back after these messages. Champions, but aside from Lee Sin, Kha'Zix would probably be one of his more historically famous picks, so that's something that should be easily contested. Well, I don't think Chuan even really is going to wrap his head around that one.
Exactly.
If they force him to pick it.
So in rotation right now, we have Kha'Zix and Nunu are kind of the really big, Lulu
Jungle is the strongest
Freak is
thing
actually
ever,
playing in this game. No, it's Lee Sin, Nunu, and Kha'Zix.
Oh man, talk about shots fired.
I know, right? And Chwin only plays one of those junglers. His champion pool has always been an issue. Does have the Elise pocket pick should he try to turn back to that, but the game LGD is entirely dependent on if he shows up or not.
Yeah, that's really the biggest issue for LGD, and it's been a hindrance for them throughout a number of their games. They were swept aside in the playoffs summarily by StarHorn, but, I feel like they could pull out something a little special here. This is the last chance. If they drop down, they'll have to face off against Invictus Gaming, and that would be a very interesting matchup, but they don't want to have to be on that ringer to not go to Worlds. You've made it this far. You have to pull out everything you have, and I think PYL is kind of got his team in a huddle right now. Say, guys, here's what we got to do. We've got to be able to beat these guys down. But StarHorn, this is a team that was surging in power just a patch ago, and honestly, nearly edged out OMG twice.
It's very curious in how these two teams match up. StarHorn Royal Club, of course, we haven't even covered them really. Let's just get out of the way. The big powerhouse for StarHorn Royal Club is their bottom lane. Zero, their new Korean support, possibly the best support right now in LPL, and their star AD carry, Uzi.
Left over from the World Squad, one of the few members in any Chinese team with that experience. Going forward to Worlds, he has been there on that big stage. He knows what it's like, and he knows how to make plays, even if it's at the cost of his own life. This is a guy that'll flash 1v5 into the enemy team, but he will pick up a kill or two.
But even more into the detriment of LGD, especially in this matchup, is the jungle matchup. It's funny because StarHorn Royal Club, yes, they have, the Korean jungler, the big insect coming over from the KT organization along with Zero. There was a lot of eyes on him saying that he would be the hard carry of StarHorn Royal Club, but they found a lot more success when they utilized their mid laner Korn effectively. Oh, a lot better, yeah. You could blame comms, to be honest, for a little while. I think that was a lot of excuses made from StarHorn fans. More in, it was definitely troubling, but I think they got to the point eventually where Insect and Zero were able to communicate reasonably well. And yeah, pinging definitely a huge plus for them as well. But also, as you mentioned, Korn stepping up massively. This is a guy they picked up from King. And he wasn't particularly effective on that LSPL team when he was on it. They are now currently first place LSPL, will be in the LPL next season. But he was kind of nothing special in a lot of people's minds, and when he finally became a powerhouse, everyone sort of opened their eyes and said, wait a minute, we might have a team here that isn't just Uzi. And that's really what it's come down to. Uzi recognizing that he doesn't have to hard carry his team, that he can spread the gold around. Of course, LGD flashing on the screen right there. PYL in the front and center, the captain, the support of the team. They have not found any success against StarHorn Royal Club in the season, in the playoffs. It's been a very tough road for them. StarHorn Royal Club is very aggressive and fast-paced. They brute force their victories a lot, it's curious because LGD is actually a very smart team about their movements. They just get outperformed and outplayed on an individual skill base when they lose their games to StarHorn Royal Club. But we are starting the roster lineups. It is going to be 17 in the top lane.
Yeah, call him Killer 17. He will run Yasuo top. We have seen it a couple of times. This is a guy that I think you can't take too lightly. For a top laner in general, he does like to play a bit more carry-centric, although he has also historically been a Lulu player, too. It's a bit more flexible, but he will split push for the team, and they will enact a lot of their cerebral strategies off the back of him as well. In the jungle, of course, weak league for the team. It is Xuen, the champion pool. Well, it's a lot smaller than an Olympic-sized one. You might say it's a kiddie pool. That's Lee Sin, Jarvan, maybe, and that's about it.
And as we see, Lee Sin, Jarvan.
Yeah.
Serious face, though.
He's definitely concentrating on upping his game because I think it's very apparent that this is where the weakness lies and they need to improve that. I wouldn't be surprised if POL had a lot of talking explicitly with him.
I know POL is very picky about the champions. XQ is not allowed to play Tristana because POL does not think it's very good. In the mid lane,
Talk about controlling your team, huh?
It's going to be Wayless, and speaking of control, you have to control this guy. He is such a threat, but he has a tendency to go what we call two-hero in China, and what we mean by that is he dives Nexus Towers at 2 minutes.
Would you like some cheese with your ham? He will definitely give it up to you. And he does get kills, nonetheless. He plays an incredibly powerful mid-game, and it's going to be something to watch, especially if Korn doesn't make an active play early on. We'll have to see how that unfolds, but of course, it's all about the AD carry, or at least it used to be all about this AD carry especially. But, well, we'll have to see how it goes. And actually,
the nice thing about XQ is that he's a big Vayne player. And, of course, Vayne coming back into rotation did have the buffs on her.
Yeah, it has been helping him out, but I feel like it also helps out Uzi a lot more. I feel like he's not a superstar carry, but XQ holds his own reasonably well, and there's really no reason to fault him for his play. It's just tough going into that 2v2 matchup.
And of course, joining him is going to be the captain and star of LGD, PYL. Very noticeable guy, veteran player. When the team succeeds, you can very clearly see the hand of PYL controlling it. When LGD tends to slip out is when he loses control of one of his players. Either Chuan or Wayless go a little bit too hard, and the enemy team is able to counteract it and take big objectives off of it.
Yeah, he's the brain of the team. He's the heart of the team. He's the soul of the team. They all rely on what he says, and it goes. They are able to make some pretty big plays off the back of the strategical input. Unlike a lot of teams in China, historically in China, LGD has always been a strategical powerhouse. I feel like you can put them up there with OMG. It's just, you're right, that they don't always have the mechanics to execute what they need to.
And that's been a big issue, especially going against StarHorn Royal Club, who have arguably some of the strongest players in China individually. Not
really
necessarily.
Think about this. It's brute force versus brains. I mean, that's the nature of this lineup.
And it's very scary early a game against a team like StarHorn Royal Club. They tend to snowball very quickly, very aggressively. Expect Insect to gank bottom religiously. OMG found some success against StarHorn Royal Club.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Of course, you are watching the China World Qualifiers. Game number 1, set number 1, already completed. OMG moving on to the next round. But of course, there will be a couple more sets tonight. It's going to be right up here, LGD taking on StarHorn World Club. This is a rematch of the playoff set that we did see previously. It ended up being a 3-0 sweep in favor of StarHorn World Club. But we know one thing about LGD Gaming. It's that they can come back unprecedentedly. Now let's see if they can do it. Frostgren, what do you think about this?
You are correct. This is a rematch. The last 2 times these teams faced, StarHorn Royal Club won very convincingly. I actually expect that to go the same way, but like you said, there are a couple of powerhouses and weapons. LGD, not nearly as well known from StarHorn Royal Club. You saw those intros, Pyra? I feel like everyone looks so awkward except for Zero, you know, using his
PYL is pretty confident, a little swagger in his step. Good reason to be. He's been in the scene for a number of years. He's definitely kind of the heart and soul of this team. You know, he pulled in a lot of the talent. Wayless specifically went to this team because of PYL's leadership abilities. He said it publicly. You know, I got offers from big teams, but I wanted to play on LGD.
And that is the other powerhouse of LGD. It is going to be their mid laner, Wayless. Has a bit of a unique champion pool, actually. We've seen everything from Diana, a lot of Orianna, very strong Orianna, Ahri, big playmaker for him, but also the Lissandra actually recently, especially in the playoff matches.
Yeah, really curious choice. And it wasn't really the reason they lost either. It definitely held its own in lane. Team fighting, bit lackluster though.
It was beautiful. He actually builds when he faces against an enemy Orianna, he picks Lissandra because he knows he can out-farm her, and he builds a Spectral Wraith. And he had about 100 CS on the enemy Orianna, who's, you know, no stranger to farming effectively. And he actually roamed better than Orianna as well. And you did talk about, you know, a little bit lackluster team fighting was more about those picks, but found brilliant ultimates on the enemy AD carry every single time. Even against EDG, found a couple of picks on Name.
Of course, I feel like this is a team that's had a surge in power with some roster changes. We talked a while back when they picked up XQ, had been like a massive step up. The biggest issue, though, for the team is in their jungle. Chuen has not been a reliable jungler by any means. He pretty much is dependent wholly on Lee Sin. We've seen him have mixed success on the likes of Jarvan, but that's about it. And even lately, he really struggles to make plays for this team. He's kind of LGD's Dota 7.
Shots fired. But you're absolutely right. Chuen is one of the remaining members from the previous split roster. Of course, LGD did go through a bit of a makeover as we saw the influx of Koreans. They didn't get any Koreans of their own, but they got some solo queue stars. And the bigger issue, though, is you talk a lot about Lee Sin and Jarvan. Jarvan is really big in LPL. He'll always be a threat because he's so good at initiating fights. Again, that's what we saw really in the stall out between OMG and IG, the inability for OMG to find and to start a fight since they were so far ahead. The issue, though, is that Jarvan's actually kind of fallen out of favor. We have, you know, the Kha'Zix buffs that came through 4.14. Kha'Zix being picked up was played, you know, by Illusion that last set.
Well, an Insect, you know, known for a number of jungle